Marty Turkowitz, bringing the sermonette today. Okay.
Good morning, brethren.
Good morning.
Well, this is the third day, I think, maybe the second day completely. I don't know what time, according to the world, that summer started according to man's reckoning. But before I start, I'll mention two things. One I mentioned before, some years ago, since I've been speaking. In terms of temperatures in this area, for those that are watching online that have never been to Buffalo or Rochester. In 1948, August 27th, we only have 199-degree temperature record. Everything else is lower. The other day, Thursday, when I heard the climate summary for Wednesday, or was it Friday for Thursday, whatever it was. I think it was, I heard it yesterday for Thursday, but whatever day it was. I have it written down at home, and I've not kept track of Rochester yet, but I'm going to some degree because there was a 100-degree temperature 1953. So I guess we do have 100 around here somewhere, but only 99 Buffalo, unless it happens sometime in the future to be higher than that, just 199. Last week, another individual spoke and said the topic he had in mind was something he was not qualified to speak on. I guess in one sense, I could say the same thing about today's topic, because it's something that we are striving to do better with through our whole life in overcoming. What could I be referring to? Words. I just spoke some words about weather. Now it's time for words to do with the sermonette of a spiritual matter. So since we're going to speak about words, why don't we just call this topic, because we're still learning it, Words in Action. Words in Action for the title. Let's go to our first scripture. We'll only have two scriptures today. Reason being, I'm going to mention some things later on that there won't be scriptures, but information in terms of how to dealing with words in the midst of other people in difficult or what could be maybe difficult situations, depending on how we handle it and how God guides us in terms of what we say and how others respond. Sort of like the scripture in Proverbs, that we're not dealing with this matter at this time. Answer a fool according to his folly or don't. And depending on how it goes, that will help determine how the end of the conversation wraps up, so to speak. Let's go to Matthew 5, verses 33 to 37. And I know it's a fairly lengthy passage, but the only other scripture I have that I will have you go to is at the end of the message. Matthew 5, verses 33 to 37. It says there, Matthew 5, 33 to 37, "Again you have heard that it has been said by them of old time, you shall not swear yourself." Now I'm not talking about swearing here, but there's a word I'm going to mention at the end of this scripture that we know occurs in the courts for our benefit. That's why I'm using this verse. So carrying on here. "But you shall perform unto the eternal your God your oaths." Even though we're not directly talking about oaths here, it's just in the context. But Christ said instead, "But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King." Time to come in the future. "Neither shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black." The last verse, which is verse 37. "But let your communication be yes, yes, or no, no. So for whatever is more than these comes from the evil one." The reason I bring this verse up in terms of swearing is that in the courts, so we don't have to swear when we're under an oath, we can say we affirm. Now I would like to say that in regard to this whole matter, there's a scripture, I won't even say where it is, I'll just quote it, in the Old Testament that says, in regard to God, in regard to his example that he sets for us that we are to follow. Where God says, "For I am the Lord, I change not. His law stands, be it the Hebrew Scriptures or the Greek Scriptures. In the New Testament, it's stated, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Nothing changes. Everything is the same. How about another scripture in the New Testament? That it says, God who cannot lie. We are not to lie. So part of the gist of this message is, what can we say to other people when we're put in difficult situations? First, let's realize that we should be honest. Don't deceive anyone, but be careful what we say. And do it with guidance and from God, with wisdom. Now for all the information, 7 things I'd like to state to you. The first one with an example of sorts, and the last with an example of sorts. And the others, just things to consider when we are in communication with other people and what might become, or could become, but hopefully will not become, difficult situations in conversation in dealing with other people in their communication with them and us with them with us. Maybe sometimes for those that work in an office, maybe your boss may have said, I really don't want to talk to this person right now, someone calling on the phone. Well, you can't directly say that if you're the receptionist. What's a softer way maybe to answer that question? I'm sorry, but my boss is not able to take your call right now. That softens the matter. Maybe the owner or boss can't, but at least it diffuses the situation. What about some other considerations of things we could say in what might be a situation that could be testy, but hopefully not, or to diffuse it? When someone asks us a question, I appreciate your concern. We're glad that people are concerned. I appreciate your concern. How about a third one? I'm not comfortable answering that. Sometimes we are asked questions we really would rather not answer. Instead of saying, and I'm not always good at this myself, so I'm sort of preaching to myself, so I don't want to be saying I'm preaching to the choir when I'm talking to you, but this is for my benefit too. Sometimes I could say, none of your business, none of your P's and Q's. Well, better way to answer it probably is, I'm not comfortable answering that. And hopefully, it'll end the matter. What else could we say that could maybe, for ideas of things to say in terms of situations that we might find ourselves in that we could maybe diffuse, so to speak? I would rather not say, which is similar to not answering that, but it's just another way of saying it. Another consideration, maybe when we're asked a question, we don't think it's appropriate, so we could say, it's inappropriate for me to answer. Another way to soften the matter. What about another concern? Same thing, but more direct. This is personal. I'd really rather not go to a personal matter. And hopefully, that will be the end of the matter. I would like to now, for the last thing I'm going to state, in terms of something we can maybe not say but do, is not too awful long ago, someone in our congregation who meant well, I know that, asked me a question and tried to ask it 2 or 3 different ways. And I really didn't want to answer it. I didn't want to say, though I was appreciating his concern, I did not necessarily want to say, I'm not comfortable answering that, because maybe more words would come out of my mouth. I did not necessarily want to say in this particular situation, I would rather not say. I didn't want to necessarily say it was inappropriate, because the question was a concern. I didn't necessarily want to say either that it was personal, because it was, but it wasn't. So what I did instead, after 2 or 3 times of someone asking me a question before services, not too awful long ago, though the person meant well, I'm not faulting them, I just walked away. I know there are times that individuals, maybe more in the world than us, hopefully, not that they will learn later, that people don't like someone when they walk away. Wow, you're ignoring me. Well, we don't want to ignore anybody, do we? But sometimes, so we don't see any more words, we have to say any of these 6 things, or just plain walk away, and hopefully the situation for the moment will be calmed down. So in considering our words, we will stay in Matthew 12. Yes, Matthew 12, verses 36 and 37. And I'm not here to implicate anyone on any words that they use with me or others. It's just a learning tool for all of us in terms of the words that we speak and how others receive them, including myself, especially since I don't see the visual vibes that help know a situation, whether someone's joking or not. I know there are people that are more humorous than me. I know I'm probably more, as I might sometimes say, dry, dead, dull, and boring. I don't tell jokes. But I know at times I laugh at situations that the sound is funny, but the situation is not. And I shouldn't do that either. Or last week when someone was trying to tell their phone something. I didn't mind the situation. I just didn't expect all those words back and forth with the phone to communicate to the phone what the person wanted. And I laughed and laughed and laughed. I shouldn't have. I was laughing at a situation of sorts, but not meaning harm, but it still could have meant harm, and I'm sorry. So let's go to this scripture to conclude. Matthew 12, verses 36 and 37. And it says there in Matthew 12, 36 and 37, "But I say unto you that every idle word," it doesn't mean we can't joke or have humor. There's one person here that wants me to have more humor, more than one, but one that talks to me more about it. I appreciate it. It's just not part of my nature. But anyway, it says that we not have, I'll just read it from the beginning. "But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account therefore in the day of judgment." Let us be sure in the day of judgment we have a good accounting from God, that we use our words more gracefully, more tactfully. At times I'm not as tactful as I should be in my speech either. And as it says here in verse 37, "For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned." Let us use our words correctly to be justified by men, and even more so by God.